Struck me were some of the projects that he's involved in working with youth in his neighborhood. Very creative, and gives a lot of his time, for free to connect with them. I was really impressed and inspired by those kinds of efforts. So when I landed, I definitely wanted for us to connect, and we bumped into each other, and we took it off from there. And Kwame for me is emblematic of a group of people in Liberia who don't get a lot of attention. He's one of those people, but then the others are here. Many scatter on among you. Don't get a lot of attention. And they don't get the attention, you don't get the attention, because of where we Liberians are in our mindset. So I want to put it in colloquial. Let's meditate on this one for a minute. When we say that the eye take to look at me, what do we mean? When someone asks you that the eye take to look at me, what are they trying to say? What are they asking you?
They're displeased on how you look at them.
They're displeased with how you look at them. Okay. Anything else? I mean, many ways we can tease out of that expression. That the eye take to look at me.
The same eye that you try to refer to the eye, the same eye that you do something else, maybe negative.
Negative. Okay. Negative. That's very important. Because usually when somebody asks you that the eye take to look at me, they're not saying that they're looking at me in a complimentary way, right? That's not the case. You are looking at me with a negative eye, right? Okay. And what I'm saying to you is that in my view, Liberians today look at ourselves habitually with a negative eye. It's very common for you to hear Liberians generalize about Liberians only in a negative regard. They'll take the behavior of one or two people and then they'll spread it to everybody. When that is done, the people who are doing the positive things get overlooked. They're never credited. They're not even noticed because we're so busy painting everybody with the most negative brush. Are you hearing me? I don't know if that's your experience, but I'll tell you that that has been my experience. So today, what I wanted to present as the focus of my talk is the eye we take to look at ourselves. And my thesis, my plea, my presentation to you is we have to change that eye. We have to change the way we look at ourselves, each other, if we intend to have any hope of moving forward. You see, many of us, we prioritize the shiny things. The latest car, this thing and that, in fashion today. And that's all important, that's good. But what I would like to suggest is when it comes to forward movement, you can't import development. There's a mindset thing that's a part of it. And if you don't get that right, you can import all the different heavy equipment, all the earth movers, all kinds of different, light poles and wires. It's still not going to work. The mindset, we have to start with that. And changing the mindset, in my view, means, first of all, shifting from seeing ourselves repeatedly and in almost every way in a negative light to move now to a more realistic and a more balanced way of looking at who we are. Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My focus is history. So I'll be talking about history in particular. But before I get there, I want to touch a little bit more on this question of the negativity that we have about ourselves. And the mindset that has to be challenged so that we can shift. Liberian history has been railroaded, has been captured, misused, misrepresented, hijacked. You hear me? Negatively. So what we have had for several generations, I think probably everybody in this room has been a victim of this. Your brothers, your uncles, your big brother in, the papi, my generation have taken a partial view of Liberian history and tried to sell it to you as the story closed, complete, sealed. And they have done all of us a huge disservice. As far as they are concerned, what they claim to be Liberian history is all negative. Conflicts is what they're interested in. Fighting, groups bumping their heads against each other. And so when people find out I'm a historian, they come to me, and invariably the questions they come to ask have to do with something negative, have to do with some kind of conflict. Doc, E.J. Roy, did he die with belt with money tied around his waist, or did he? Our history is reduced to stories like that. Are you hearing me? Okay. And it's all conflict after conflict after conflict. The point I want to make to you, bear with me, is any history that consists only of conflict is a partial history. It is inherently inaccurate. It cannot be the true story. It cannot be a full history because it's only a piece of the pie. Yeah? So, there are a number of young, energetic, innovative Liberians whom I've been in touch with online. When I meet people online and I see that they're doing some things to promote change, to promote the betterment of Liberia, I lash on. That's the energy. So I was in contact with someone, landed, they said, Papi won't meet. I said, let's meet. Sat down. As soon as we sat down, he said, Doc, I have something that's in my heart I need to tell you. I've been waiting for you to be on the ground so I can tell you in person because I didn't want to put it online or text or. I said, okay. He said, I read 2 of your books, and my problem with you is your history of Liberia is too romantic. I said, okay. I take it. I hear your criticism. But let's be clear about something. If you have been exposed to a history that is repeatedly presented as deficit and negative, anybody who presents you the other side or tries to balance it out is going to seem romantic. They're going to seem compared to what your brother told you, what your papi told you, what your uncle said. Any version that differs from that is going to seem like, oh my God, where am I coming from? Call me? Okay. So, I'm not going into, when I say I want to talk about history and I want you guys to come, I'm not going into dates and names and that kind of history. We're not going to have quiz or any of that. No. I'm dealing with a mindset. That's the thing that I want us to deal with today. The mindset that's under the history, and it's under a lot of how we see ourselves and whether we are able to move or not move. So that's the point of the conversation. And so that idea of the romantic, my side, I say, yeah, I'll take it. Because somebody has to start the process of saying this history is inadequate, it's partial, it's incorrect. So I didn't know this when I started my journey. I've been on the journey for decades, writing Liberian history. When I look back on my career, what I realized is that my core, the thing that energizes me, and the thing that is consistent in the work that I've been doing, I didn't know, I had to look back to see it, is I am drawn to those areas that are neglected. I want to tell the half of the story that has never been told. When people choose collectively to be neglectful of something, there's a reason behind it. Somebody needs to go and look behind that. In families where there are secrets that nobody can talk about, usually it's hiding something, right? And usually it's those families who they want to project themselves to be so special and above, and everything above us is the greatest. And then there's that secret that nobody wants to talk. But when you find that there are people, a group of people like Liberians today, who are constantly denigrated, and they denigrate themselves, when you go and look for the other half of the story, it's usually the juicy part, the good part, the positive part that has been left out. So, first thing I want to share with you is that one of the books I did, it's not my first book, but it's the first book on this part of my journey. I was writing, when I was in the States, I was publishing for other professors to read. And at a certain point, I said, you know what? If I'm writing Liberian history and Liberian people don't read it and they don't know it, it's useless. So I have to find a way to get the story to our people. And I started this journey. So the book that I did first on that journey, right, this side of my journey, was Between the Polar Forest and the Salty Sea, a history of the Liberian people before 1800. Nobody has done a scholarly history of Liberians before 1800. Hear me? Mm-hmm. Check. Don't take my word. Check. Why? So what does that story tell us? If you check it, if you go into it, what do you find? What I found, to my surprise, because to write the book, right, we cannot write our history the way Europeans or Americans write their history. They have access to all kinds of written records going back a long time. You have to cut your suit, the cloth, to fit your body. This is our body. And so to write that book, you write by any means necessary, right? All right. So there are linguists, people who study languages, and they study the history of languages. And they have something to say about the history. They say that, some of the first words that develop in any language have to do with counting. Counting is so important. So if you know a language and people say ta, fele, sawa, na, no, mentame, filament, and then other languages around them have the same system of counting, although the accent might be a little different. Those languages started off together, and then they branched a little bit. So on that basis, then they say, shifting from the north of Liberia to the southeast side, Kwa, dribble, crew, passer, right? Date. The counting systems, similar. Those languages are related. So linguists have something to say about history. Archaeologists digging to look for old clay pots and things, they have something to say about the history. And there are written records. So I had to get records from Arabic, Portuguese, other languages. They were translated for me to use as I was speaking. But by any means necessary for us to tell a story. Now, in preparing to tell a story, I had to read what anthropologists say. Anthropologists who have come here, spent time in different parts of the country, living in the village, learning the languages and the origin. And many of them said that our ancestors, not that long ago, were hunters and gatherers. Hunters and gatherers. And basically all that means is that you're at a very low level of development. Because in Western science and anthropology, people are evolving to become like what is in the West. So we were lower. It's easy to accept what these experts say as you go on your journey. But at some point, I had to ask myself, is this true? Because the evidence I was finding was bouncing up against what they had said was the dogma. And what is the evidence that I found? I found that our people, our ancestors among the Day, when they came down the Sinkor River to hit the Atlantic, the branch from Sinkor to Kipma, settled that area, started making salt from seawater, boiling the seawater to make salt, and they were selling that salt up all the way up to Mali. I found out that Malagata spice was grown, it was growing only between Riverses and Kipamos. So any Malagata you saw anywhere in the world was coming from here. And Malagata was being sold in Spain, in Italy. I found records of it from 1000 AD. So that means then that our people here were selling produce that was going all the way to southern Europe. How can you be hunters and gatherers and you are engaged in an international trade network? It's a question, that's a problem. So the eye that those people are taking to look at us or to look at our ancestors was that kind of downward-looking, deficit-looking approach. And I'm seeing something that's different. So recently I had a conversation with someone about STEM. And the person was very passionate about STEM. And they were saying, I think I'll come and talk to the students, because I'm hearing a lot about history, and I don't know what you were talking about, because our focus is STEM. I said, I think I can talk about STEM in our history. So what do you mean? I say, the suspension bridges that we have in Lofa, the one that we call Mountain Bridge, you don't see the engineering that's involved. You don't appreciate the technology, the system that went into the creation of those to carry weight across using basic lines. It's just possible to take the seam, to use steel and weave it, right, more durable materials, but to use the same principles in design. We assume that when the Portuguese came, when I say that, I would take a look at us. And I did this book, and people will come around. They're not coming to buy it, they're just coming to morale. Pick up the book. They say, so Dr. Burrowes, You have Pedro de Centra in this book, right? The first Portuguese. I'll say yes. Oh, that's a good book. The Portuguese enter our story. It's not even halfway through. Late in the story they come. But we are defining ourselves through the arrival of the Portuguese. So anyway, Portuguese come. They came looking for gold. They have been in touch, trading with Mali, trading with the Moroccans. They were bitter enemies of the Moroccans. And the Moroccans were blocking them from getting goods from Africa, selling it more expensive to them. And they got intelligence. They had spies in West Africa who told them that don't mind the Malians and Moroccans bluffing you with gold and copper. These things are coming from beyond Mali in the south, around the forest. So the Portuguese said, oh, okay, we'll try. And they began inching until they came to us. And when they came, they were looking for what we used to call the Gold Coast, which is Ghana. Because that's where the gold was coming from. But guess what? They were also looking for Malaketa spice. They called it the grain of paradise. And they would come and fill their ships with spice, carry it to Europe, sold at a premium, right? This is the side of our story that we don't hear. And I think our young people need to be exposed to what was going on. So now the Portuguese arrived, and in this ocean, there are two currents, almost like two, think about it, like two rivers in the Atlantic. One runs coming from Cape Mount Way, going to Cape Amos Way, going all the way to Ghana. If you put a canoe in it, the current will carry the canoe. Even you just start a little bit, the current will carry you. The same kind of currents are in the ocean going to the Americas, right? Those ships used to get in those currents and they carry them. But these people are coming from Europe to come here. So they hit the current will be carrying them. Time for them to go back. They don't know the ocean. So they get back in the same current as someone that's carrying them in opposite direction of where they want to go. They have sails, so the breeze, they're hoping the breeze will make them reach to where they're going. So many European ships got wrecked on the coast. They have gold in there coming from Ghana. Until they met our ancestors who were maritime people, crew, fancy, with expertise in our ocean. And they go to them and say, there's another current. You go up in the ocean and it runs in the opposite direction. So if you put your ship in our current, it will kill you. Because crew, fishermen used to dry fish, get in the canoe, current carry them to Cape Mount, they turn around and get in the other current, the current carry them back to coast. Follow me? You think that our ancestors would live here hundreds of years and they would not understand the environment? Somebody will have to come from somewhere to tell them, oh, yeah, the current is this way, that. And but this is the eye we take to look at ourselves. This is the eye we have given to our children to say to them, look at yourselves in this denigrating way. Nothing good comes out of Liberia. Nothing good ever came out of this place, and nothing good ever will. That's the conclusion. So that scenario, I don't know if you're one of those children, but there are children who had the unfortunate experience of a parent or maybe both parents telling you, you're a stupid child. You're high-headed. useless. Nothing good will come from you. And children have a way of responding with particular psychological, emotional force. Some internalize it and accept the message and they say, yeah, I'm useless. Hey man, I'm stupid man. And I met them in the classroom when I was teaching. I met some. And you try to explain something, they said, I'm not an orator, man, I'm not smart. What are you talking about? But then there are those students who rebel. And they said, Daddy, you can tell me I'm not smart, or you tell me I'm useless, or I will show you. And they push in the other direction. But the response of children to that kind of denigration is usually not to be chill about it and indifferent. It's like I either have to swim or I'm going to sink. I either accept your definition of me in a negative way, or I'm going to have to show you from my behavior, my accomplishment, I'm not what you define me to be. I think that's where Liberians are. I think we have to redefine who we say we are. As a historian, don't be surprised when I tell you that. I believe every group on earth, every nation has to answer several basic questions. Who are we? Where do we come from? So that we can know where we're going. And I say right now, as Liberians, I have a lot of conversations about history of Liberians. And other conversations, we don't know who we are. We can't tell you who we are. The dead talk line, something like that. Because of the negativity. Can't say where we've been. So, are you surprised that we can't seem to be moving forward? I believe until we answer those questions, we stop. And my hope is that you'll accept the challenge to take the initiative, to take responsibility to answer those questions. Not just for yourself privately, but for the people you have influence over, the people that you interact with, right? To help to bring that light. That we will see ourselves with a different eye, an eye of empowerment and possibilities. Because there's a lot that has happened in this country that is just exceptional. Nobody has told you, nobody will tell you, because the mindset is so negative. Take the slave trade. It went on here, it went on in Africa, of course. That's not engaging in denial and all that nonsense. It happened. Okay. The Ghanaians accepted the fact that the slave trade occurred in Ghana. Ghana, Nigeria, Angola were some of the places where most Africans were removed to the Americas, to Brazil, to the Caribbean. Right? Majority. The Ghanaians didn't try to deny, at least their historians, professional, committed to telling the truth, bringing the record. They brought it. From the Nkrumah time, they've been doing that kind of research. And the Ghanaian government says, we accept this history, we're going to use it to our advantage. History. And so they decided, we're going to have a year of return. We're going to call the people from the diaspora, the people that have come. They're normal. And come home. And we look, Beyonce, Jay-Z, right? On and on and on. People coming. End of the year, the Ghanaians check, 2 billion US, almost, around that area. 2 billion with a B US dollars in foreign exchange. History. My parents came to Liberia. My father came in the 1940s from Jamaica. After he decided he was staying here, he sent my mother to. And so they wanted to name me Liberia actually. My father and his friends, he said, yeah, the first one born here, you name me Liberia. And my mother said, no, hell no, you're not naming my child in the country. But I think because of that connection, that name, and my father's friends, they didn't care what my mother named me when they see me in the street. Liberia, come here. So that's in my psyche. So maybe that's why I'm obsessed with Liberian history. But this connection here, I'm looking at other places and saying, what are they doing that we could be doing and we should be doing? And of course, my parents are from Jamaica. I'm looking at some of the things that are coming out of Jamaica. When they left, there was no reggae. There was no ska music. At some point, Jamaicans began ska. Ska became rocksteady. Rocksteady became reggae. Right? Jamaicans make hundreds of millions of foreign exchange because of reggae. And reggae is around the world. It's respected. Why? Because Jamaicans respect it. Right? Bob Marley has the highest honor that Jamaicans can bestow on anybody, any citizen in the country. Not a politician, a musician from the ghetto. We got hip hop, trap hop. The creativity is wasting. But we disregard the history, the culture, which is so valuable in so many ways. And so for me, I wanted an opportunity to speak to. I told Kwame, I said, can you put something together? Creatives, innovators, and change makers. People in their 30s and 40s. People are, the numbers of people that are hoping to hear than I am, but it's okay. People are here who need to be here. It's not the numbers, it's the quality. And so, I can tell you, as far as I'm concerned, this is one of the most important conversations. Here is part of the brain trust of Liberia. What bothers me is that many of you don't know each other. It's sad. So when I came, and each time I meet somebody, I'm just so impressed, and this person is so brilliant, they're doing such great work. I said, do you know this person? No. How? How can you not know? I meet this feminist, and I ask, do you know this human rights activist? No. Yeah. But, and you're supposed to be doing it. We cannot, your generation, operate in the way that you have been operating up to now. I'm going to tell you that for free. I hope that I can contribute from the perspective of someone who 1 foot still here and the other foot is close to the other side. So I hope that I can leave this with you. Tell in your head, in your heart, the divisions, the negativity that the Brabis, the Ogus have planted. Tell those messages, those perceptions of each other, of you, yourself, to go sit down. Because you have work to do. You cannot do it alone. You cannot do it in silos. You need to start crossing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The theater people in touch with the musicians, people who are human rights, feminists, and innovators, and endless work things done, creative work things done here. And once you start that conversation, in the history of countries, based as a historian speaking, the change can come in a twinkling of an eye. But it comes when people are having those conversations, the right people are having those conversations across spectrum, across all the divides that have been planted here. And I'm hoping that that conversation will start.